Khalil. I believe he has a presentation, so I will give him the access to share screen. Just check if you can share your screen, please. Great.
Okay, do you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so can I start?
Yes, please feel free.
Okay, hello everyone. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, Alex, for inviting me. I'm very happy to be with you here to present my thoughts about the need of a great AI strategy in Africa. In fact, this presentation is entitled Towards an AI Strategy for Africa. This presentation has been prepared after studying many available reports provided by many independent international organizations like the World Economic Forum, UNESCO, and more than 20 national AI strategies. In fact, I think that this can help us to have a brief overview of some important points that we need to focus on in order to exploit effectively AI in our activities at the individual level or also inside our organization. So here is the outline of this presentation. Basically, I've divided my presentation into 5 main parts. I'll talk first about global trends of AI, and then I'll present the most important key challenges that are facing Africa. I've also collected some interesting indicators that would be taken into consideration to evaluate the AI strategy. After that, we'll talk about responsibilities of each stakeholder. And finally, I will end this presentation by trying to give some recommendations based on other countries' experience. So let's start with the global trends. So here is the national strategies. As you all know, many countries have taken initiatives to improve their economies through the development and use of AI. For example, I think that all of you know that China wants to become the world leader in AI by 2030 through a national strategic plan. On the other hand, France also aims to increase the number of AI students and achieve major AI projects. Many other countries also, such as Canada, Italy, Mexico, Japan, have also presented their AI national strategies and are continuing in applying different fields. So if you see on my screen these national strategies, we can notice that no two strategies are alike, and each country has focused on the main aspects that can have on the greatest impact of its economy. For example,
just a quick note, Khalil. Khalil, we can
yes?
barely hear you. Maybe if you speak closer to the microphone. Something is going wrong. We can barely hear you.
And do you hear me now?
Okay, maybe it's a little better. So cool. Yeah, cool.
Okay, thank you.
Continue.
So as I already said, that no two strategies are alike, and each country has focused on the main aspects that can have the greatest impact of its economy. So here, for example, there are countries that have focused on data, other on research, other ones on ethics, and also leadership. On the other hand, several companies invest a lot on AI to increase their profits. For example, global revenues from AI for companies will be multiplied by 20 from 2018 to 2025. So unlike big companies such as Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon in United States, or also Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent in China, these big companies are investing in all areas of AI. So here, I think that small and medium-sized companies should focus on a narrow area of application to compete. For example, there are companies that can focus on computer vision, and especially on medical application or medical imaging, other one on natural language processing, for example, on machine translation or sentiment analysis, other ones on speech recognitions and system recommendation. So each company should focus on one area to compete with other big companies in this specific field. There are also independent organizations, such as UNESCO, for example, that has also made several initiatives. For example, in Morocco, we have organized a forum on artificial intelligence in December 2018. And the objective of this forum is to reflect and debate on the different dimensions of AI within the African context. But the problem here, as you know, that Africa has a specific particularity and it is facing many key challenges that could be summarized as follows. So here there are some key challenges. The first one is the lack of a clear vision. All the initiatives want to focus on all the areas. So, and there isn't a clear vision that depend on the requirement of Africa and also a unified strategy. There is also a low awareness for adopting AI in business. So here, each enterprise should introduce AI in their business model. There is a low intensity of AI research, lack of enabling data ecosystems, low investment, and also a weak collaboration between various stakeholders. And finally, lack of formal regulations, including ethics, privacy, and security. So now, what are the strategic indicators that we need to focus on in order to have a real AI transformation in Africa? So after analyzing more than 20 national AI strategies, we can summarize these indicators as follows. The first one is the need of a sophisticated infrastructure, and it can be composed of the high performance computing. We need to develop and commercialize computing power based on CPU, GPU, or TPU. Or also, we need to have and improve the connectivity. We need to have large spectrum of networks and also high capacity of data storage. The second part are data. So here we need to have a digital data management in order to increase data availability, accessibility, also some protocols to exchange data, and some initiative from government to open data. For the research, we need a strong research environment. We need to encourage research and funding collaborations. And also, why not develop all this research and transfer it to business? The fourth indicator is industry. In fact, I think that all of you know that many companies want to integrate AI in their business, but they don't know how. So we should have programs for assisting AI adoption and accelerate enterprises' AI deployment. We need also to support small and medium enterprises adoption of AI and AI startups and exporters. One of the most important things in the strategic indicators are education, because we need to have qualified human resources. So one of the indicators is to teach basic knowledge of AI in primary school and also incorporate AI knowledge into university and higher education. And finally, all this education needs to be aligned to future workforce needs. There is also the indicator of society, and here we need to increase the human trust in AI in order to adopt AI in various fields, and promote collaboration and cooperation with other countries through joint research projects. Finally, there are barriers. We need to remove barriers. We need to establish an AI ethics and society working group in order to review employment practices, law and obligations, and review also high priority legal implications of AI. As I already said, we need to focus on priority sectors. For example, We can focus on education, healthcare, agriculture, energy. The objective here is to make the choice of one or two specific priority sectors that are aligned with the specific African requirements. So here, who are the stakeholders and what are their responsibilities? So I think that many important stakeholders need to participate in order to deploy AI in Africa. The first stakeholder are students. Yes, students. They need to follow courses, online courses, for example, from Coursera, EDX, Udemy, and other online courses to improve their knowledge of AI. Also, there are international internships they need to apply for. They need also to join international association like this one and maybe participate in the organization of events and many other activities. The second stakeholder are researchers and professors at the university. They need to include AI in their research. So here there are two types of professors and researchers. The first category are computer scientists. So for these researchers, they need to develop new algorithms. They need to develop new models and maybe propose patents. On the other side, there is other researchers that are not computer scientists and working in other fields like sociology, human sciences, or social sciences. So they need to use AI as a tool and maybe collaborate with computer scientists in order to improve AI. The third stakeholder are academic institutions. And here I talk about universities, schools, and research institutions. They need to develop AI programs and double talents in AI. Also, the private sector. And here we can divide it into two components. The first one are industry leaders. Each company or big company need to have an AI lab or data lab. And for startups, they need to include AI in their business model. For professional association, I think that the role is to promote AI through organizing many events like this one or such activities in order to exchange the experience between all the AI community. We need to engage in dialogue with society and continue in the development of the framework for policy action. For policymakers, they need to have strategic investment. They need to promote open data by including AI in their general strategies and put it at the center and not a component. So this is a very important thing. And maybe bridge the gap between academia and industry. And finally, independent organizations such as UNESCO or the World Economic Forum. So they need to federate all the efforts and propose more general initiatives having a great impact on human. So they need to make bridge between nations according to their priorities and exchange experience. So I would like to end this presentation by giving some recommendations. And here I would like to focus on one important thing. I think that we hear nowadays that some people say that we should forget about AI and focus only on digital transformation. So I think that here we need to make AI at the center of each strategy and develop a coordinated AI strategy as a part or extension of the wider digital strategy. We need also to align the AI strategy with the African requirement and adopting multi-stakeholders approach. We need also to organize sub-regional forums to exchange experience between different stakeholders and measure and evaluate AI technologies according to several standards. I need to say here that AI transformation is a trip, not a destination. AI transformation, it's not about algorithms, data, or technology. It is a human mindset. So I think that was few thoughts about AI strategy. Alex told me to respect the 15 minutes of the talk. Next time, maybe we'll present to you a general model to follow to establish your own AI strategy for your association. So happy to be with you here today and hope you've enjoyed the talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a wonderful presentation. I'll now open the floor to any questions. Feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions or write it in the chat.
Thank you very much for a good presentation. So for the AI strategy, I really appreciate the way you've aligned the responsibilities and the stakeholders. And Alex actually has highlighted a very good article for Alliance and of Alliance for AI. So started even without the right one for governments to adopt such a strategy? Is it through the AU? I was just thinking out of the book. Recommend for government to pick this up because the private sector really is already ahead when it comes to AI. How do you recommend? Yeah.
Isa, could you just please repeat the question? I think that the participant talked about AU.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that if you
that is the right path.
Yes, I think that I have read recently a report of AU about digital transformation and not AI transformation. So they have proposed in, I think, 2020, they have proposed a digital transformation report and they have given some recommendations of how to make or to succeed digital transformation. So as I have already said, that they need to include AI at the center of their strategies and not saying that we need to focus only on digital transformations and AI will be on the future. So I think that all the stakeholders need to work together and maybe the African Union can work together with other stakeholders such as UNESCO.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Feel free to write in the chat or unmute yourself and ask. All right, if there are no more questions, I will just quickly read the comments that have been placed in the chat where Alex says that the African Union naturally needs to be involved at a level and Alliance is working with them on their transformation document that will be shared soon. But more importantly, we the people have a lot we can do by ourselves. Feel free to work with Alliance for AI on this. The second comment, thank you for the good presentation. In South Africa, University of Johannesburg has identified their own special area, which is AI ethics. If there are no more questions or comments, we'll move to the second presentation regarding the Lucana Fund from Dr. Dina.